we find some differences. For example, in the oldest surviving copy of Genesis 1, the phrase "was moving over the face of the waters" doesn't appear. Instead, it says, "And the Spirit hovered over the face of the waters." And that hovering is an ancient Near Eastern literary motif that appears elsewhere. In the Ugaritic texts, for example, the storm god Baal is described as hovering over the sea before unleashing his storms. And that imagery is used elsewhere in Genesis as well, Genesis 19. For example, Lot's wife is told not to look back at Sodom and Gomorrah. And it says, quote, "She looked back behind her over her shoulder, and her eyes were blinded, and she saw it, and it became a pillar of salt." Some scholars think that this story was originally about someone who looked back at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and was turned into a pillar of salt. So here we can see that this imagery of the Spirit hovering over the water is used elsewhere in Genesis and elsewhere in the ancient Near East. So the question becomes, did Moses take that imagery from somewhere else? Or did he independently think of it? Well, maybe. But that's where we run into another problem, because we don't have any extra-biblical evidence that Moses existed. Another scholar named John Hugh claimed that Moses didn't exist at all. In 1977, he argued that the Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, was written by a group of people over a long period of time. And so he proposed that Genesis 1 was originally part of a longer work called J, which predated the